The Great Arizona Book Haul continues. Hi guys, welcome back, bienvenue and all that jazz. It's time to talk about some books. I had thought that I had gotten through like maybe half-ish of the books that I had hauled when I went to go visit Elle and Jashana in Arizona, and I don't know that that's true. So I will keep any kinds of descriptions probably incredibly brief so that I can kind of chug through the rest of the books. The majority of these books, with the exception of two of them, are books that I hauled. The two that are not part of the haul from Arizona are ones that were sent to me. One was sent by my friend Angela over at Literature Science Alliance, and then the other one was sent to me by the author Mark Timmony. So I'll jump into those first, and then I'll talk more about the Arizona books. First off, let's talk The Blood of the Spear by Mark Timmony. So I have already read and done a full spoiler-free review of this book, so if you want more deets, I'll leave them around. But Mark recently got some updates done to his book. This is a self-pub fantasy book, and he got a new map made as well as like chapter heading art. So here's his cool new map. And then he got quite a few like icons made for the start of chapters. So now all of his chapters have cool little like logo things at the start. And since this is self-pub, the book looks quite nice without its jacket on. So let's take a little peeky peek. So when we take off the jacket, it has that kind of entwined like Ouroboros snake eating its tail type thing. And then a quote on the back. And this book is a lot of fun if you are a fan of the kind of world building and descriptive elements of the Wheel of Time, but with less irritating characters. Then I would highly recommend Blood of the Spear. If you like bone dragons, if you like cool magic, if you like the magic being kind of forefront in the story. Then the thing that Angela sent me is she knew that this was on my anticipated reads for the year, and she had gotten an arc of this from Tor and then tried it, and the writing style just really did not vibe with her, and so she sent it my way. So now I get to check out the first binding by J.R.R. Virdi. This is, I hear it most often compared to like The Name of the Wind. It seems very like Silk Road, Name of the Wind. I never read Name of the Wind, so I will not get any of the comparisons to it, but it seems like it's very much that somebody telling their life story type thing, which, depending on how it's done, I can love, i.e. Empire of the Vampire. So I'm really hopeful for this, and I'm going to be picking this up in a buddy read with one of my friends in September. So if you want to join along for the first binding, let me know, and I'd be happy to make like a channel on the Discord or whatever, and we could do a fun little, a few of us could get together and read it if you want. Just let me know. Okay, then the rest of these stacks are all books that I hauled from the couple of bookstores that we went to in Arizona. So we went to one Barnes & Noble, and then we went to two different Changing Hands locations. So that's kind of like a little bit bougier of a like semi-used bookstore. They seem to be kind of half-half. They have some used books and then a lot of new books. And we went to locations in both Tempe and Phoenix. And then some of these books are from the Bookmans. So again, I went to the Bookmans in both Tempe as well as Phoenix. And Bookmans seems to be much more primarily like basically everything is used books there. So, and then also, when we were at Bookmans over the summer, they were doing this cool like little stamp card giveaway thingy. So when you bought like 9 books, you got like the 10th book free or whatever. So I did get a book for free because I bought way too much stuff. So let's just chug right along, shall we? I got The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. I've heard about this from Elle and Jashana. I think Jashana maybe is the one who was hyping it the earliest, but it just sounds like cool magic forest type sitch. So then Jashana, Elle, and I all got a copy of The Obsidian Tower so that we can do a buddy read for this. This is by Melissa Caruso from Orbit Books. I have never ever heard anybody talking about this book, so I have no idea if it's going to be amazing, if it's going to be a flop. I don't know. It sounds very much like traveling through this mysterious magical tower, and why, who, what, where, no idea. We'll find out. Then earlier this year, or was it? It might have been at the end of last year, I read The Strange the Dreamer duology and I loved it. So I wanted to start trying to get those into my collection. I, of course, would prefer to have the stupid, beautiful LitJoy crate ones, but it's not to be at this moment in time. So instead I just have the beautiful paperback edition with the cool moth, which if you know, you know, and these like UK-esque covers are so much better than the US ones. So I couldn't resist. Then I managed to find one of the books that I had mentioned in my bookshelf tour from earlier this year when I was giving a shelf tour. I was going through my Forgotten Realms collection and I noticed that for the Elminster books, I have the majority of them in hardback, except I had one stupid little mass market paperback. And at one of the Bookman's locations, I managed to find the hardback to replace it. So now my collection looks much less ugly because now they're all hardback and they match. And then just continuing in the kind of Forgotten Realms-esque land, I got The Summoning. This is Return of the Archwizards, Book 1. It's a trilogy that I have never read, have never owned. I saw it was like just a couple bucks, so I snagged her. And then Ed Greenwood is the creator of the Forgotten Realms, and so I knew that he had a different series called The Band of Three that I've read the majority of. I don't know that I ever finished it when I was younger, but I didn't realize that there was another book in that world. So when I found it and I saw it, I had to get it. Then I've been continuing my collection. So these are mainly because I think my husband would really love this series, and I also really want to reread it one of these days. And so I've been I grabbed a bunch of the Xanth novels when I saw them. So I have the first one, Spell for Chameleon, up there by Piers Anthony. And then I got a couple more books in that series. So I got The Source of Magic, Centaur Isle, and then Ogre. There's more to the series that I still don't have yet, but these were a great deal when I saw them. If you don't know, Xanth is like an older fantasy series. It's very punny. So if you kind of like that witty, punny type fun fantasy adventure, and that's kind of what you're looking for, would highly recommend checking out the Xanth series. Then this is one, I guess this wasn't technically a haul one either, so I should have included it in the earlier section, but this is the Bartimaeus Trilogy, Book 1, The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. And this is one of Elle's favorite books from childhood. And so when I was visiting her, she gifted me this copy so that I could check out one of her favorites from childhood, since I gave her one of my favorites from childhood, so we could kind of just have that little bonding moment and read each other's like nostalgia faves. I don't know a ton about this. It seems like there's like a stolen amulet, mischievous djinn, and it just sounds really wholesome and sweet, and I'm really excited about it. I remember her talking about how like the djinn is particularly like witty and snarky, and we all know that's my vibe. Then this is one that Elle and I grabbed copies of together so that we can read it together at some point. So this is Graceling by Kristin Cashore. And this is a little bit older YA fantasy, I want to say. I really don't know anything about it. I literally just picked it up because Elle was like, oh, do you want to get a copy too? And I was like, sure. Because I am easily peer pressured. But I don't regret it. I mean, I like fantasy. I like YA fantasy. It's fun sometimes to just have fun romps that don't necessarily like tax the mental faculties, so I got that. Then two more like ones that I got because of Elle. So I got Nettle and Bone. This is dark fantasy retelling by T. Kingfisher. I don't really need to know much more than that. It just seems kind of cool, kind of creepy. Like, I just love the vibes. It gives me very like Tim Burton vibes when I look at like these end papers and stuff, and I love Tim Burton, so let's go. And then I also got talked into getting a copy of The Wolf of Oren-Yaro. This is by K.S. Villoso. This is a start to, I want to say it's a trilogy that features a middle-aged female protagonist who's like a mother trying to fight to get back to her son. I mean, just the quote on the back, they called me the bitch queen, the she-wolf, because I murdered a man and exiled my king the night before they crowned me. It just seems so like against the grain type fantasy that I'm here for it. I love me some badass bitch queen type protagonists, so I hope I really like this one. Then, because I saw them, I have read many of Rick Riordan's books. So I've read Percy Jackson, I've read the follow-up to that series, I have read also the Kane Chronicles, which is Egyptian mythology series. I've been reading some of the Rick Riordan Presents imprints with his like Middle Eastern inspired fantasy series and stuff like that. And so I decided that I wanted to check out his Norse series. I got Magnus and Gods of Asgard. So this is book 1, The Sword of Summer. Book 2, The Hammer of Thor. And then the final book in that trilogy is The Ship of the Dead. So I don't know much more about it than that. I think there's some kind of like hotel with like Norse mythology something. Then, if you have been watching my channel for any period of time, you know that I've been looking for queer romance in sci-fi fantasy, especially if I can find it from a queer male author, but that is not like a deal breaker for me. I have just been looking for more queer fantasy, so it's just really fun when I can find it. So I got Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a queer male-male romance sci-fi. And then I got The Loophole by Naz Kutub, and this one is also male-male romance, but there's like djinn involved, and it's from a queer man of color, which we love to see. It follows a Muslim Indian boy, so we're here for all of the rep and all of that stuff, and this cover just looks so cute. Like, I am so excited to check that one out. And then the last of the gays that I got is, so this is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, and to be honest, this is 100% a cover buy. Like, it just gives me that kind of like D&D-y type vibe, but it looks like there's male-male romance, and so I bought it. Then I managed to snag, for a very reasonable price, a box set of The Lord of the Rings, and you may say, Roger, but I can already see that you have like a whole shelf of Lord of the Rings right behind you, and I would say, you're correct. But then I would also tell you, and I also bought the nerdy ink dust jackets without actually owning the books that they fit. And so then you would look at me and be like, well, Roger, what were you thinking? And then I would tell you, ha! I got the books for $30 for all three, and so now I can put my dust jackets on them. Don't judge me. And then the last thing, the very end of this haul, the book that I got for free, because does it match the copies that I have? No. Does that make me a little bit irritated? Yes. Do I feel really irritated at myself that I started collecting these like nice trade paperback editions before the show came out, and then I stopped collecting them because of money, and now all of the editions have that stupid permanent Prime logo sticker, so I don't know that I will ever complete my collection? Yes. So did I suck it up and say, you want to know what? Fine. Give it to me for free. So this is book 12 in the Wheel of Time. This is the next book that I need to get to. I read Knife of Dreams, I want to say in January. I have a whole spoiler-filled review of that, so if you want my thoughts on how I feel about Wheel of Time so far, as well as the Knife of Dreams, I'll link that on the screen for you so you can go check that out. But this is the next book that I need to get to. I just have 3 books left in this series, and they're the ones that were written by Brandon Sanderson after Robert Jordan unfortunately passed. And I hear that Sanderson saved the series for a lot of people, so I hope. I mean, book 11 was starting to move back in the right direction, because at least things were actually happening, so that was nice. So my bar is pretty low. But I really do, like, there's so many cool world building elements, and the magic and stuff is so cool, and the major plot beats in the Wheel of Time I think are fantastic. There's just so much filler that it kind of feels like trying to go back and watch a 90s anime that you don't have any nostalgia for, and you're like, oh my god, what is all this filler trash? That's kind of what this feels like, where like the overall story is really good, but there's just too much filler. But those are all of the books that I have hauled, mainly from those 4 or 5 bookstores that we checked out when I was in Arizona in the beginning of July. Have you read any of these books? Should I prioritize any of them? Have I maybe piqued your interest in some random ass queer romance that I found? You're welcome. But that will wrap up this video for today. Please leave any comments or likes or anything that you feel so inclined to leave. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, to see more bookish shenanigans like this from moi. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!